K&Ro here.
Ready for our morning in Harper's Ferry, West Virginia.
So today we're going to take you on a tour of Harper's Ferry, and we're starting things off right outside the Appalachian Trail Conservancy Visitor Center. We just took a little tour inside. We'll post a separate video on that, but right now what we're planning to do is we're going to head down the Blue Blaze Trail here, which will lead us out to the Appalachian Trail, and we'll start our tour from there. Harper's Ferry, West Virginia has a long and storied history. Named after Robert Harper, who acquired the rights to a ferry across the Potomac River prior to the Revolutionary War, it became the site of the Second Federal Armory of the United States under President George Washington. In 1859, this armory would become the site of abolitionist John Brown's attempt to start a slave revolt in the southern states when he took hostages and seized the armory's fire engine house. Our tour begins with a short walk along the Blue Blazed Connector Trail, which leads down to the White Blazed Appalachian Trail. So in typical fashion, connector trails are blaze blue, so we're going to follow the blue blazes up the roads here to lead us to the Appalachian Trail.
This is Virginia Lodge number 1, which was built in the early 1800s before the Civil War, when this was the site of one of the United States armories. So this was lodging for some of the officials that used the armory, that were in charge of the armory.
So following the Blue Blaze Trail takes us across Camp Hill here, but this, I believe, is the location of the former Storer College. And Storer College was formed after the end of the Civil War, when there were some 30,000 slaves that had been freed and in need of an education. And this was the first educational facility that was created without any prejudice to race. First black college, that's commonly known as.
Well, all races, from what we're reading,
yes,
right?
Right, yeah. And I believe it was run for some 80 some years, right?
At least, yes, I agree.
Okay, so what this is saying is at this point, this was an international border at one time, because during the Civil War, the peak that lies to our left, which I believe is out that way, was part of the United States, and the rest over here was still claimed by the British.
The Confederate. You're getting your wars mixed up.
Okay. The Confederacy.
There you go.
I gotcha.
Virginia succeeded from the Union.
Okay.
And West Virginia was still part of the Union.
Alright, we just made it to the AT, and you can see the sign here. We came down from the connector trail from the ATC. We're going to head down this way to Shenandoah Avenue and start our loop. Heading south along the ridgeline, the Appalachian Trail will bring us down to US 340 and around to Shenandoah Avenue. Bridge right over there crosses the Shenandoah River. The trail follows the walkway across there and continues south. out to Virginia. We're not going to do that now. That will be part of our section hike when we get around this area. But right now we're going to, this is Shenandoah Avenue here. We're going to follow that for a little bit. We briefly walked along Shenandoah Avenue, then turned right, crossing onto Virginius Island, and followed the trails along the Shenandoah River down to the point.
This is the ruins of a wood pulp factory that was built in 1887, and it proved not so profitable and was closed in 1935 and then eventually destroyed by a flood.
What do you think you do with wood pulp? Like maybe make paper or something like that?
That's my first impression.
Yeah. Let's go take a closer look at it. Guys, couple of deer. Oh, there's 3.
We're just tourists.
Yeah, we're just tourists passing through, guys.
Non-threatening humans. Oh God, you kids.
You guys having a
Give you
snack?
a hug? I'd like to.
So these are the train tracks that I assume make their way down to the Lower Town train station. Shenandoah River, guys. I think what did that sign say? This is like some old basin or lock basin or something along the canals here. Factory. The stone walls built here to divert water from the river down through the tunnels that would lead to the factories. More tunnels over this way. So here's a schematic of how these tunnels worked. So this is where I just showed you where the wall was, and you can see it diverting the water down through here. Cotton mill, turbines. This is where we're probably at just earlier, upriver a little bit. There's the ruins of the cotton mill. Good size. This foundation goes all the way out here to the river. Now that's cool. You can see the river flowing by through the opening down there.
And it says in 1862 they converted it to a hospital.
Wow. Those walls over there look a little more modern. They could use that term, you know, the brick instead of the old stone. What's we saying here? In the mid-1820s, this was the site of a butcher shop.
Yes.
I guess that supplied meat to the armory.
Correct.
And then in 1836, it became a boarding house. This is the stone foundation remains of that building. Road just spotted this. It looked like there's a wedding happening down here. on the banks of the Shenandoah. That's pretty cool. So we are at the point, actually kind of below it. The official point is above us, but this is where the Shenandoah River to our right here converges with the Potomac River, which comes in from the left over there and continues all the way out that way. We're at the point, but we're above where we were standing down at the riverbanks before. And it seems the proper term here for the two rivers coming together is confluence. Right next to the point is this bulletin board here, which is the marker between the end of the Maryland section of the Appalachian Trail, which comes over that bridge right over there, and the beginning of the West Virginia section. So from here we're going to head into Lower Town, which is that way, and visit some additional historic sites. From here we follow the Appalachian Trail into Lower Town, stopping at many of the historic sites before heading back up onto the ridge to Jefferson Rock.
So this is October 17th. Coincidentally, we just found out that this is the 165th anniversary of John Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry, where he took over the armory that was previously located up by that monument there. He took prisoners and held them in his firehouse right here.
Side of the firehouse. This is where the prisoners were held? Is that what you said?
Looks like it went through a couple of restorations. And 1895.
Restored? 1895.
And then again in 1910. Armory, different building.
So, climbing the stairs on this dirt mound here, and this stone obelisk marks the original location of John Brown's fort, which we believe is the building that we just saw. Although it was originally an armory, from what we understand. See the building now.
Federal Armory
That way.
Fire Engine House. So the fire engine house there was original.
Okay, got it.
So we just happened on a very knowledgeable park ranger. It's really his job to clear things up, and the signs around here were a little confusing. So this is actually the 165th anniversary of John Brown's raid on the Harper's Ferry Armory. The armory was many buildings right down here. To my right is a firehouse that used to be up here where this monument is. So when it took place 165 years ago, that building was up here where this monument is.
Mm-hmm.
And that was John Brown's fort, where he captured, I believe, 18 people. And the whole raid took place in 3 days, and he was eventually hanged. All right, so back in the late 1700s, there was a ferry service here that was being run by Robert Harper, hence the name Harper's Ferry, West Virginia. It used to be Virginia. And shortly after that, George Washington decided this would be a great place for our National Armory. And this was the Armory grounds right here. Remains of the Armory.
is the foundation of an arsenal building where they held rifles and pistols, muskets. I think this is the first picture I've seen of John Brown.
All right, we are standing in front of the Provost Marshal office here. It was originally a boarding house and continued to be a boarding house when the Union Army established the marshal here to maintain order over Harper's Ferry, West Virginia. Maintaining order over civilians and military, so that could be anything from arresting spies, deserting soldiers, and also drunk and disorderly civilians.
Oh, like us. Halt, show your pass. And just across the street from the Provost Marshal office is the Frankel clothing store. And this is set up as an exhibit of what the clothing store looked like. What's it say there about the clothing store?
Well, this is the beginning of ready-made clothing. This is the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. And previously, you did not buy ready-made clothing. Everything was custom-made.
Oh, wow. Here's the display of an old dry goods store. General merchandise right next to Provost Marshal. Let's see what kind of goods we got in here. Just arrived, new and cheap.
This reminds me of a little house on the prairie. The Olson's General Market.
Huh. Toy gun carved out of wood. Canned tomatoes. Canned goods. Peaches, peas, beans. What is that stuff up there? Magnetic oil. What the heck is that?
What is it?
Magnetic oil, it says. Will cure rheumatitis. Sounds like snake oil. Looks like a bunch of snake oil up there to me.
That's where you get your fabrics to make your clothes if you can't afford to go across the street.
To Frankel's?
Yeah.
Persons that have slaves to dispose of will do well by calling me.
These are some dry goods, I
Price
guess.
for men, women, and children.
Teas.
And, teas and spices. What we got there? I see nutmeg, cinnamon, cornstarch, mustard. Some baked bread, or is that cheese? Is that cheese?
Can't see. Oh, cheese.
The town's inn here is an old historic inn that you could still get accommodations in. We looked at this, very hard to book something in here just because of its history. People are drawn to that, but do note that it is old and historic, and most of the rooms do not have a private bath. I think there's only one room that might. I think that's what the 1820 suite is. Sign on a door up there. So most of it is shared bathroom down the hallway if you don't mind that sort of thing.
So one of the infamous visitors here to the Armory was Meriwether Lewis of the famous Lewis and Clark exploration team. He came here and got his supplies for a couple of his explorations, and also met William Clark here to continue their explorations out west.
They have a Whitehall Tavern set up here. Oysters and lunches. This is directly across from the Armory. was an 1850s community gathering. Can't get too many people in here, especially if there's an armor over there. I think there'd be a lot of military men.
This is the train station here in Harper's Ferry, built in 1894 by the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad. Still in service today.
We're standing along Potomac Street, and you can see down the end there is where John Brown's Fort is. So right up, the Appalachian Trail comes up from there and makes a left through this courtyard and heads up those stairs past the big church at the top of the hill. All right, so these steps are kind of famous. Lead us up to Jefferson Rock along the Appalachian Trail. There's going to be some sights to see along the way here. Look at these steps. It's like, I think it's kind of like carved into the stone cliffside here.
The oldest building in Harper's Ferry, 1775. The town founder, Robert Harper, chose this for his the site of his new home. It was finished in, I believe, 1782. Unfortunately, he passed away the same year.
Ooh.
And I don't know if he's any relation to Philly's great Bryce Harper. What do you think?
Could be. Great,
I would say ring the
great.
bell, go Phillies, but they're already done. It's a Roman Catholic church, and it was established and built in 1833, and it was built to accommodate all the Irish immigrants that came here to work and construct the railroad. St. John's Episcopal Church, which was built Invisalign.
Okay.
Built in 1852, was used as barracks in the Civil War, and eventually had some damage to it, obviously, and was later rebuilt downtown. Right, this is Jefferson Rock. Thomas Jefferson, that we all know from our history lessons, stood on top of that rock in around 1783, and he was looking at the rivers and how they converged. However, that top rock there used to sit on this rock, and in 1860 they put those pillars in
to support
to
it.
Stabilize it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now he also wrote about the beauty of this area here, and he also said it's worth the trip from England to come over here and see this view. Come on down.
Come on down. Harper's Ferry is this 4-acre plot of land that Robert Harper set aside as the cemetery. He thought there was going to be a lot of growth in the area, so he set this property aside.
In the sun.
And we are going to be coming on his gravesite here somewhere, and we'll show that to you when we come on it.
Oh, well, we just set out about to find it, and it happens to be right here.
Robert Harper passed away October of 1782.
Here we have the gravesite of a Revolutionary War soldier, which is so interesting. We've been seeing a lot of Civil War history here. Well, here is someone who fought in the Revolutionary War, and actually looks like he survived and died in 1830. And look what a beautiful view he has from the top of the cemetery hill. To complete our loop, we headed south on the Appalachian Trail along the ridgeline. Well, we're on the Appalachian Trail now after leaving the cemetery, and this should take us all the way back to that blue connector trail that goes over to the Appalachian Trail Conservancy Visitor Center where we started this morning to complete our loop. And we're back at the Blue Connector Trail through the ATC.
Going up?
Yep. All that was left to do was to take the connector trail back to where we began our day. Well, that concludes our tour of historic Harper's Ferry, West Virginia. Did you have a good time?
I did.
Yes.
Lots to learn.
Yes,
Yep.
and I can't even tell you like how far we walked or how long it's been. I wasn't tracking us on all trails, but I think we left around 9:30 this morning, and it's a little after 3 o'clock now, so we made a full day out of it, and I'm a little tired.
Yeah. Time for a nap?
Yes, it's time for an old person's nap. Well, I hope you guys found this enjoyable, and I hope you get to come and visit yourself one day. See you next time.